cool. So let me get started. I have a side project that I'm working on. It's semi-relevant to my work, but this is something that is happening this week. So long story short, I'm looking out for a logo, and I'm looking out for a logo that feels like a cat in a box. Don't ask me why. That's like let's treat that as a given. So I started looking for such a logo, and I was happy with this. It's cute, it's sweet, it's cozy. But the problem with this is when you put that into a logo, it becomes a little bit too small. You can't really see what is going on there. And so at some point of time, I also became, I also remember this Schrodinger's cat thing, and I actually found a lot of resemblance with this. And it also looks cool, but it doesn't feel like the same vibe as this project that I am working on. So I'm also a fan of pixel art, so maybe I draw myself. But once I open this page and start drawing, I realized this is probably too difficult for me. So despite how much I like it, I probably cannot proceed with this option, and I probably won't have the time to be an artist here either. So then I'm kind of like, I ran into the Octocat from GitHub. This one, everybody is familiar. It's simple enough, and what's even better, it actually shares a similar mindset with the project that I'm building. So I was happy with this. Although I kind of wanted to be still be like a box, so more square-ish than rounded. And then I saw this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep going with this. This one is easy. It still resembles an Octocat. I mean, at least I can still identify an Octocat from there. And it's like a box. So I was happy with this. And it became the logo for my project for like a day. Before well, to be honest, I simply got bored. So then it was also the time when a friend of mine sent me this screenshot. I do not know what website is this, but it looks like someone is ranking us in terms of GitHub contributions for the past year. I believe I'm on there because I do tiny commits. So one line of code, I also put up a commit. That's why I have 1,000 commits over the past year. But that led me into this. So it's my GitHub commit history, and everybody is familiar with this. And you might wonder what's happening for the recent half a year, right? So if someone really is going to have an accurate estimation, you have to provide a service to take into consideration both your work and your extracurricular contributions. So it seems to me that my brain power is actually quite constant. I put it here, I don't have enough power to put it like elsewhere. But anyway, together with this and that simple enough cat that I feel like maybe I could even draw with CSS, that kind of inspired me to build this. So let me show you this first version. The idea is I want to build this grid where you can draw your logo by like 1 and 0s. So you can click here to edit, something like that. So this initial version is really very simple. It's like 50 lines of code, and all of us here are React developers, so we should be it should be pretty easy for us to understand. So what you do is in this logo component, I'm a pet namer. I render a grid. So thanks to CSS grid, that can turn what I initiate as simply an array, and can render that into give it a two-dimensional layout that can look like a chessboard. And for each of those grid, it is a cell, and the cell can be either turned on or off, and then it will have a color. And the on-click event is handled by the parent because the parent kind of has a bigger image of the whole grid. And so the update grid callback is computing the updated grid that is recording all this information. And at the same time, I'm having a tiny save function that uses your local storage, such that if you reload this page, it's gonna keep your previous design. So that was the initial version. So you will not stay there very very long before you start to improve this. So on the second, it's actually not the second night. It was actually the second hour or whatever. I wanted to have some kind of uh, feedback when you mouse over those grids. So how would you go about implement this? And there are multiple options. Like when initially I was quite stuck with the whole React thing. So I was thinking, well, maybe it looks like it is simply changing the color of the same cell. So why don't I handle this in another similar callback that I can attach to the mouse enter and mouse leave event handlers. And once I tried doing this, right, I realized there are more situations than I had to consider. Like when you mouse enter, you're overwriting the color, of course. Then when you mouse leave, you have to set it back to the previous color. But maybe you click, or maybe you did not click, whatever. But you need to take care of everything properly, and especially if you're using hook and you wire your brain around. I'm pretty sure you can do it properly, but it was like at night, and I did not want to fight with that. So I was thinking, well, maybe I can have some kind of special state that feels like taking over. So if I'm taking over the state, I can render that prioritized color. And when I'm not taking over, like when mouse is out, then I kind of fall back to the previous state. So that actually sounds like a better plan. I do not know why. It simply felt easier. But then I realized, wait a moment, I do not have to do it with React. I can do it with CSS. So eventually I went, so if you're familiar with CSS, the CSS anchor, the HTML anchor element has a CSS state called hover state. There are actually more than that. It's hover, active, focus, visited, all of these. That does exactly this. So you will have your CSS pseudo selector, and what you do is you select the hover state and you give it another color. And don't judge me on the important thing, the important flyer, because previously I'm using the style on the HTML attribute. So so yeah, that is the second iteration. I kind of like the gold color, and so I was happier with this. And so when you have a toy like that, you will start drawing with it, right? So so I was worried I was getting fired by building this instead of real features. So it will be my face if I get fired. But I did ship real features, so please don't fire me. Then I was hearing about my teammate leaving because of personal reasons. Then I was drawing this crying face. And I have friends who are better artists than I am. So she suggested a smaller face. Then I got space for a tail. So when you start drawing things like these, you want to share it with friends. So initially, what I did was I screenshot these and I sent to friends. But we gotta be better than that. So my third iteration, this is a very straightforward one. instead of using local storage, I have then changed to using query. So what happens is if you edit this and if you hit save, you will get this ridiculous string. And then you can share this with your friend, and your friend will be able to see like this thing that you're drawing. So that works better, except that like now if we calculate this, this is a 16 by 16 grid. So if I compute correctly, that's a 256 length string in your URL. I mean, well, people are copying and pasting, you're not typing, but still, it kind of bothers me. So is there any way to shorten this? So so I was trying to figure out a way to shorten and recover this encoded information in the URL. So actually, this encoding in URL is actually pretty common across many services. Like for example, post inbox, this is a hash, but um, but that one is only used as an identifier because there is more data to store the reference to the actual content. But in our case, we don't have any extra storage, so we really need to still encode that amount of information, but we just want a smaller string. So my initial very crappy implementation was my initial plan was, well, I had this 256 length string. Why don't we break them down into smaller strings? I somehow picked 8-bit strings. I'm not sure whether it's a good decision or not, but I just went with it. So if we break them down into 8-bit strings, we can map each of the 8-bit strings into some kind of dictionary, right? And so that effectively would shorten the string from 256 divided by 8. That should be 32-bit string, byte string, if I calculate correctly. So, okay, so what that means then is I need a dictionary that can represent from 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 up until 8 ones. So that's 256 characters. Okay, so what you do now is, that's what I did. I roll my face on my keyboard, and then I press Shift and roll my face on the keyboard again. And then after I've done this with like all the keys I have, I ended up with a dictionary of like 90 something characters. Then I'm running out of characters. So so then how then as a Chinese native speaker, you will never run short on Unicode strings. So so you can see my dictionary. I'm also learning Japanese, so I'm using the the hiragana, and even if you add all the hiraganas, it's not gonna be enough. So eventually, you still need the kanjis. So I wrote my initial implementation out. It was quite complex actually, but unfortunately, I removed the code already, and it worked briefly. Why? Because after you get the shortened string, it is beautifully 32 digit, 32 length, and then you copy it over, and then you hit enter on the address bar. It got URL encoded, and the string becomes like super long with all those like special characters in between again. So that didn't work so well. But along the side, I built that. I was learning a bit more like interesting utilities from the string JavaScript string object also. So it turns out when you do parse int, if you can see my cursor here, let me enlarge this a little bit. And let me also close this if possible. Never mind. Okay. So if you see here, parse in takes a string and is intending to parse it into an integer. In the second parameter, it's something called a radix. What it means is I want to parse the string from a binary representation. And after you get this one, which is 63, you get a number, you can call then again to toString. Normally when we call toString, we do not give it a parameter, but turns out that this parameter is also the radix. So you can turn this into a string with a specific base in mind. So with these utilities, you can effectively write a string shortening utility that will shorten binary string by converting it into a base 36 string. So, so how long will that shortening give you? If you reason about this, when you have a binary string, your string will be 1 digit longer when you scale up by a factor of 2. So 2 to the power of 10 is 1024. That's an 11-digit binary string. And on the other hand, if you have a decimal number, it will scale up. It will add 1 digit only when you scale up by a factor of 10. So you'll realize that this won't be an exact match. 2 to the power of 10 does not exactly equal to 10 to the power of 3, but how you do the estimation is you do the upper bound. So or you do it by estimation. And in our case, our base 36 string, we will not get 1 further digit until we go past 36, which is a 5-digit or 6-digit number in base, 5-digit number in base 2. So if that is taking you a lot of brain power to reason about, there is an easier way for you to do this. So what you can do is, this is wrong. This is actually 73. But anyway, what you can do is, this is the largest 8-digit binary number. Actually, no, this is the largest 8-digit binary number, and you parse that into a binary number, and you run toString and convert that to base 36, and you get a 2-digit number. That means for any 8-digit string, you are guaranteed to be cut down to 2-digit. So with that in mind, we should expect our shortened string to be much shorter. So now we get the idea, but the problem is, if we do it this way, it doesn't work. Likely because the integer overflow. So when I wrote it this way, it was really neat. But when you run shorten on a 255-digit string and you run recover, you'll get 2 different strings. So that didn't work. And then eventually, what we do is we split those into chunks of like smaller digit. So since we're handling 8-digit and 2-digit, for 8-digit binary string, we're converting it to 2-digit base 36 strings. So I wrote 2 extra utility functions that that handles this. It turns out you can break a long string into chunks of 8 or chunks of certain number by this regex also. Yeah, so that ended up becoming my util functions. So the shorten takes a long binary, splits into chunks of 8, and map over those chunks, parse it as an int, convert that to a 2-digit 36 base 36 string, and you pad the start in case it is 1 digit, so that you are guaranteed to get 2-digit strings snippets, and then you join them. And then recover is the exact same process, but in the reverse order. So after that, I can share this with my friends. And my friend Huijing, who is a much better artist, drew this See No Evil, and I'm pretty sure this is becoming her new pet. So so now you can also draw with this, and you can share with us like the other pet that you're drawing. So that was my side project for the past like 3 days. So what did we learn from here? Well, initially it was a miniature example of a parent control component that we talked about the previous week. And then it reinforced me again that although I'm now a React developer, I'm handling all the like life cycles and hooks all day long. But as a web developer, we should still learn CSS and still learn JavaScript.